All right, we're gonna get started. Thank you all for being here. This is a little bit of a newer kind of way to do CE, so we're trying it out. We're gonna see what works and what doesn't work. But thank you all for being here online. So what we're gonna do today is we have some amazing case supervisor and advocate pairs that have researched and come up with topics to present to y'all. They're going to be rotating every 20 minutes, so you'll get to see all 4 topics. We're going to start off with Joni Lunsford and Judy Covin, and they are going to be talking about Optima. All right, take it away, ladies.
Okay, so we all know Optima is our favorite thing, our favorite part of being a CASA advocate, right? That's a joke. So Judy is one of my advocates, and she is my top-notch Optima guru. She knows everything about it. She documents so well. So I wanted her to kind of give you all some helpful hints about how to do things, so it's not so daunting. It doesn't have to be. So take it away, ma'am.
Well, on your handout, it is a card that you can put anywhere in your office, on the refrigerator, just as your reminder of what your monthly checklist is. This helps you, who you're supposed to contact each month. And that's pretty much just read over that and it tells you what you need to do each month. And we did that in cardstock, so we felt it would last a little bit longer. Then on the first page, talking about optimizing Optima. So why do we do it? What's the purpose of it? Of course. This is something you want to look at before you go to court. One of the things that I do before I go to court is I go to Optima, I read off my court report, take it with me, because I need it as a reminder. Before testimonies, if you have a trial, you're definitely going to be going through Optima, looking at all your history to see what this case was like to find out, so you can prepare for trial. I had one last year, and I did that a lot. And that's where it's important that you really put your notes in there in detail. And I always say, when you put in a contact or a note, create a word picture so a strange person looking at it can understand it. I also recommend avoid the words she, her, him, especially when you're talking about 2 different people, because who knows which one you're talking about. So be careful with that.
I have a question. You said, like, when we go to court, it's always a trial, or is that not a trial?
No, it's a hearing.
Okay.
We usually go to hearings.
See, I'm really new at this.
But the hearings can end up going to trial.
Okay.
Yeah. And that comes later. You're probably a little too new for that. You haven't had a case log enough to get there. Hopefully you won't have to, because they're no fun and they're long and they're stressful. Refresh on longer cases. I was working with the caseworker and I needed to go back and try to find something that she asked me about, and I couldn't remember. So I went back, I took good notes, so I was able to find it. When you get into Optima, the activity type. The other sheet is the type of activities, and that is in your Optima. When you go to your case, before we go that far, I'll go back to that later. Never learned to do this without a mouse. I'm gonna graduate to a mouse without a mouse. I can do this. I know I can do this. And you know that when you know where you put the activity. First thing you do is you would add a contact. Are y'all pretty comfortable with Optima?
I am.
You are.
I'm with everything, but like knowing which box to choose for certain, like, I know face-to-face and all that, but that other box above, knowing which one, if it's something other than contact with the child, I'm not always comfortable with that. I'm choosing the right thing.
Yeah, right. Right.
And that is on that list right there. That kind of helps.
That helps a lot, actually.
And we just updated this, so it's really up to date, and it lines up with Optima.
Okay.
The older one that we had, they didn't exactly line up, so I kind of moved things around. So when you look at if there's any questions on some of these activities, this is a good place to ask, because it's we tried to go into a little bit more detail to explain what some of these meant, so you'll know. But some of them might pertain to something when the child is not present, and some of them might pertain to when the child is present. And that'll help you decide what to do.
And let's talk about the CFE.
Yes. And one of those is that CFE, which is, that's a very new thing that some of you may not know. If you look on that activity page, the CFE, you have two different things. You have the family meeting and you have the CFE tool completed. The family meeting could be family group conference. If any of you may not have had those yet, you may or may not. It might be a settlement conference. It might be a permanency conference. It might be a child plan of service. This is, you use this one when the parents are involved, when they're there and they're present. The CFE tool completed, that can be any number of things. And have any of you had the CFE training? Did you get that in your training?
Oh, I've had it.
Okay. I didn't know if they have that in their training nowadays.
I don't recall.
No.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
a little bit.
I think we had last year, we had a training on CFE, I think that's what it was. We have a little bit.
What's that stand for again?
Collaborative Family Engagement.
Thank you.
I remembered it.
Yeah, there's so many acronyms.
Yes.
There really is. And there's also sheets that have all those acronyms on them. Hopefully you've got some in training.
Yeah.
So, the circles of trust with the child was something that we were given is, little training sheets. These are things that you sit down with your child with and go over, where you start drawing information out of them, to start getting to know them better, to build that rapport with them. This starts bringing things out. CFE cards, and when we went to the CFE training, I think it was last year, maybe it was the year before, there was a set of cards with CFE, and there were regular playing cards. You can play regular, but they also had other things on it, like questions. Like you're playing a game and a question comes up, you ask the child a question. And it turns around, they can also ask you a question. Well, it goes both ways. That's when it's pretty much, with the child, but the CFE tool can be completed with the child. It could be with the foster family. It could be with the placement that they're in. So it can be with the adults as well. So it's not just for the child. Am I missing anything there? Okay. Also, that's what you can use if you're going to do some internet research on your case, for example. Maybe you're trying to find the parent on Facebook or something, try to find out something about them. If some of you do things like that, which I do.
The whole point is to try and bring in the family, find some family from somewhere. Kid may have a great great aunt that they haven't seen in 3 years, but they remember they had a relationship with them. So that's to just kind of shake their brains up a little bit, help them think.
I didn't realize, like, when we text with the kids, we should document that time. I didn't know that.
Anything you do that has to do with your case, you can document.
Okay.
Any contact whatsoever, absolutely. Any other questions on that activity sheet that y'all don't understand or you have questions about?
There's no way we can show it up on the screen and kind of go through it.
I don't think they have
Okay.
that set up.
She'll say,
I think we did this. We're not gonna have time to go through the whole thing because we only got, what, 20 minutes, Lana?
Yeah.
Not 11 minutes left.
We got 11 minutes yet, so I need to talk fast. So I do want to talk about a couple of things. This is important. In the middle of the page, optimizing Optima. Contact does not include events that the child is simply present or performing. If you go to watch a child at a game, for example, one of their school events or something like that, if you're sitting in the bleachers and you're watching them and you never make contact with them, that doesn't,
Would you document it nonetheless?
you can still document it, but it wouldn't be with a child. It would be one of the other ones. Like contact others, not face to face, maybe it would fit there.
I mean, it would seem significant in many cases if you went
to watch them do
Right.
whatever.
Mhm.
That's gonna be a lot of information just by observing what they're doing.
True.
They look healthy, they look happy, they're engaged, they're doing this with that. You might never speak a word to them, but still the documentation, I think, would be valuable.
Mhm.
Yeah, or down here, there's contact other case contacts. You could put it there probably.
So that's not a face-to-face or even a non-face-to-face as well. That's one of those.
Well,
Yeah.
so you're helping us know where to put that, but I think it still should be a place for.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, like I say, anything you do with your case, anytime you talk to anyone, document that.
At least a lot.
And as Judy said, the narrative or the notes, those are important. Because if you go on vacation and something blows up on your case while you're gone, any supervisor can get in there and read what's going on so that we know how to help advocate as you would. Not our opinion, but what you would want.
And that happened to us a couple of years ago because I had a case. The night before I left for a long vacation, the child had to be moved. I had to call Joni at night and say, you gotta step on and this, if I hadn't done my notes and she had all the information, but your supervisor, I have to be able to step in for you. And so can't go to court.
Right, and that's what I was gonna say. And Judy did participate in a long jury trial. And so being able to go back and review things that happened 2 years ago was important.
Mhm, mhm.
So she makes very good detailed notes. And it's really important to know that CASA is the only people that can see Optima. The notes that you put in there, CPS, 4 kids, the attorneys, none of those people see that.
Attorneys, if they request discovery on the reports and things like that, they can't see it.
They can't see what's in Optima, no.
So none of that was ever subpoenaed or brought out. It was only what I presented to the court. So it's important for because if that defense asks you a question, you need to be able to answer it. That's why your notes are so important. What else is on here that we need to know? Out of court, y'all know that.
Check that little box.
Check that little box. Contact type, the hours, and understand how to enter your hours, quarter hours. Mileage add if not requesting reimbursement. If anything doesn't make sense.
And include your drive time in your total hours. So if it takes you 2 hours, an hour there and an hour back home, and then you're with the child for an hour, that's 3 hours. I think a lot of people forget that. You don't count your drive time.
And I think an important thing is if you go to a placement and you visit the foster family and the child, that's 2 separate entries. Oh, 2 separate entries. So if your total time was like 3 hours, you spend a certain amount of time with the child, an equal amount of time with the family, you put an hour and a half for this one, hour and a half for that one, put half the mileage here and half the mileage here.
So we won't get fired for doing it wrong before this.
Absolutely not. Oh,
Optima's pretty foolproof. It's not gonna let you screw it up and erase the program.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, as far as, no.
No.
Yeah.
Right. And if you make a mistake, which you will, and as long, if Joni hadn't approved it yet, your supervisor hadn't approved it, you can go in and correct it. If it has been approved, then you send a message to your supervisor, can you please fix this for me? And they will.
and sometimes if you've logged it, and it's different, like let's say you put in, that you did a social media search, but you are gonna say that you had face-to-face contact with your child. Well, we know that's not right. We'll just click that and change it for you.
Oh, okay.
Those simple things that it's obvious that maybe you just clicked the wrong thing, we can fix that. We don't want to fix everything.
Yeah.
Any questions so far? Y'all see anything on here you got questions for? Because I have limited time. I can do this. It's hard to go over everything. What other thing do you know how to enter? If you have training, you read a book or something like that, or look at a video, you know how to enter that into your training. You know how to do that.
Well, the training, like you put our training in, so I don't put our training in, right?
You have the capability or access to, but
Oh, I don't know. how to
I
do
just
that.
let y'all,
Yeah.
let me work my, earn my wage.
You know, the magic
I'm trying to
word.
earn my
Yes,
paycheck.
exactly.
Well, you can do one of 2 things. You can either email it to your supervisor, if tell them what it was, or to Lana,
Okay,
and let them enter it for you, or on the volunteer tab, before you click on that, there's a trainings logs entry. You can go in there and enter it yourself, and then they will approve it.
Yeah.
Okay, so if they read a book, I think that's what, 4 hours maximum. The book, it may take you 8 hours to read it, but you're only gonna get 4 hours. So you might as well put in.
Do it at night.
Some of them are slow learners, slow readers. So,
Or if they're audio taped, I just listened to one that was like 14 hours and I only got 4 hours for it.
mhm.
But it was a long book and it was audio. Another thing, what about documents? Does anyone know or care to learn about how you can upload your documents?
You know how to add. Correct. So you add to go into your. To it.
Where it says documents,
Mhm. Let me pull up a case here.
I think I sent it to, Laura, and she didn't.
I was gonna say, typically, that's what we do.
Okay.
It's fine. But if you have something, a report card,
Yeah.
it's just as easy for you to upload it than to have to scan it in, send it to the supervisor, all of that. You know, if you just take a picture with your phone, upload it, or scan it.
It helps to learn how to do that because I like to, it's a challenge for me. I'm gonna get in there and learn how to do it, and that saves Joni time. So, but you can go into the training logs, which is right next to your case tab, and you can just add it and just kind of follow the information and enter it. If something doesn't look right, somebody will contact you, but they're very forgiving, trust me, very forgiving. How am I doing on time?
Great.
Yeah, 4 more minutes left.
I got 4 minutes. All right. Any questions? Look over some of this. We talked about uploading the documents, pictures, a reminder not to take pictures unless asked by the court. That's not allowed. Unsolicited picture from the child replacement. You can't ask for them to do the pictures for you. They may send them to you voluntarily, then you can upload those pictures into the case. And that's part of the documents tab. That's where you upload pictures.
And then the document that the parent or grandparent.
Yes,
Yeah,
Parents
whoever
sent
sent it.
that makes, you get a quarter of an hour there. You documented that, yes, you can see pictures from so-and-so.
And that's one of the choices is documentation or other.
Oh, yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
So you can just worked on a court report. That's something that you should,
Yeah.
anything you do with your case, you can document that you did it.
In fact, there's a tab for, about what's in the court report.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
selection.
That's one of the selections. All right, let me see if there's anything else that.
So the school tab, what, like, if I went to the school and visited with the teacher, that would be where that goes?
That's actually,
It's educational.
yeah,
Okay.
there is a tab for schools at the top where it will tell you which school the child attends. Not all
Oh.
schools are in there. And if you go in there and you look, let your supervisor know, hey, my kid's going to, I don't know, Tyler's. And if it's not in there, we can go in and add it. But again, that's just one of those things that we can track, so we know, just like the placements, they change placements all the time.
Yeah, I did do educational.
Track it, then you can see, I have a case where the kiddo has been in, I think, 18 or 19 placements, and his advocate puts that on his court report every time. No, you're on there, John. So he always, but he wouldn't know that if he didn't keep up with it. And that makes a big impact for the judge to know how many times his kid's been moved.
So y'all can watch the grades. Yes, that tells us a lot by how they're performing in school.
Is there any questions online, Lana?
No?
No. Surprise.
Yeah, but here, how to reset the password, I don't know how to reset the password.
Yeah, let's know about that.
Look up under at the very top of the screen to the right of Optima, right under your name.
Okay.
It says change password.
Oh, okay. It's not the luck, right? Fair enough. That's easy.
It's right there at the top of the screen with your name.
Do we have,
But the forgot password on the home, like the login screen is not.
yeah, we have to get with
Yeah.
Lana for her to reset it
Yeah.
on the.
The home login screen.
Yeah.
What was that right? So that is.
So the differences with your passwords, the forgot password on the login screen is not operable. Don't know, don't ask me. So if you have issues with forgetting your password or needing it changed or something, you would contact me or Sonia, and we can easily change that to you, send you a temporary password. When you log in using the temporary password, underneath your name at the top right will be change password. And that's when you would utilize it to change it to something you want, so not the temporary password.
So I'm Lisa Gillis and I am the case supervisor for Ramsey County. And I borrowed this wonderful advocate from Joni. And she's a seasoned advocate and I know that she's gonna have a lot of helpful information to give you. I'm sure most of you guys have already had your first visit. Have y'all already had your first visit? Were those easy or some hard or intimidating?
I think I just felt like I'm a like real relationship person. I just had to wait. It took me a little while to build that relationship. And so that was just like, okay, how do I do this kind of thing? But I mean, it's great, but that was my challenge personally. Yeah.
And I think it depends on where you're doing that first visit as well, whether you're going to a home or whether you're going to a residential facility or some other type of placement. It depends on where that is and how that placement goes. Because you want to plug in with the child for sure, or the children, but you also want to plug in with that placement and what's going on with there and that dynamic there, because it is very important that dynamic you are aware of. So that first thing to me, when you go in, is to scan and survey kind of, for lack of a better statement there, is kind of scan the thing, because I know sometimes it's a shock value when you go in, and you're not prepared for that. My background is school counseling, so I've done many of personal visits and things like that. So nothing kind of shocks me there. But I know for people coming into this cold turkey, it can be kind of shocking. And so the first thing we want to definitely do, and I was telling her, really in between each line of this, and like you are all, most of you are seasoned, you could just write down in between each line, don't judge, don't judge, don't judge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's what you want to kind of, oh, no, that shock value. But then when you get in there and you see the care is there,
Yeah.
the love is there, they wouldn't take them in their home, or there are situations where they would take them in their home, and then you deal with that as well.
Yeah.
But just kind of survey the situation, and then when you get in with the child, it's a different story, isn't it? And what you see there is so important. So we'll kind of go bullet by bullet, and I'll just kind of input. So go from there.
So we have our first visit goals. You want to clearly explain your role and your purpose for being there. You want to keep it simple. This will automatically build trust and rapport with the family and the child. And more than anything, you want to be genuine. They want to know that you're really there for them to build that relationship.
And all of us have different personalities, don't we? We all come in with our different, for lack of a better word, baggage, and all of our things that come with us when we come in, and then we're taking in everything. And for them, they just want to see that we're there to support, especially the placement itself. They want to see that we're there to support. And then the child is, depending on their age, they all react different. And I know you have this experience that, like the small ones, they do what I call circle the wagon. You come in and you sit down, and they're walking around that couch or that chair that you're in, and they're just kind of surveying. They're looking at you and watching you, and you just kind of let them be. That's my experience. You just let them be. You just kind of talk to the people that are there, the family, and you just kind of let them be. Let them circle, because all of a sudden I'm looking down and I have a child beside me right here. you know, because a lot of them have attachment disorders, don't they? A lot of them, they may plop their stuff right down in your lap. Because they have those where they would go to the one person, to the one person, to the one person, and they do that. But then some of them are just very distant and they want to just circle away. And then you just give them time. The older ones, you know, they want to just kind of sit there until the placement just says, get over here and I want you to meet them, you know, and that's kind of the way that dynamic works. And they will, but you kind of just have to give them space. And I always take things with me. And not that I do that on the first visit, I don't. But for those older ones, especially the girls, and these are just tips that I use for me. But especially for girls, I always have a journal with me that's new and gel pens with me, and I just leave it with them. I don't do anything with it. I just say, you know, you can write whatever you want to write. You can do whatever you want to do. This is just for you. And I just leave it there. And then I go on my merry way. And that's just something as a communication, if they feel they want to do that at some point. But it's also just a connection because they're not going to say a whole lot that first time. They're not going to do that. But they also see it. And that makes a connection. Because really that first time visit, you're just there to connect. You're there to be authentic. You're there to be empathetic with, you know, the people. Now y'all have to watch the time because I'll keep going. So, so you're there to be empathetic with the placement itself. Because a lot of times they're overwhelmed as well, especially if they have multiple children in the home, which how many times have we done that? But there's multiple placements in the home. So there you go.
All right, we have helpful hints. You want to know the details of the case before you go to your first visit. They want to know that you know all the things about it and you're not walking in blindly. You want to be yourself. And then again, a reminder, no judgment. You want to be dressed professional with appearance and demeanor. Be aware of your body language, relaxed, and observe the home respectfully. Again, no judgment.
Well, and this is my thing with that. I'm old school kind of, you know, with the dress, you know, and coming from the educational background, you know, now they wear, you know, the polos and the jeans and I'm all, you know, each to their own, each school to their own. But, you know, I came from a professional dress and all of those things. Now, I don't think you should go in there wearing your pearls and doing all those things and be all sometimes badged up. I'm not necessarily. Sometimes, depending on where I'm going, they know who I am and I have it with me, yes. But I'm not about that because with teenagers, that's a big deal because they've already been burned. They don't want to necessarily do that. But I always have it with me, but I don't necessarily. But but with that, comes, I would like to say casual business or business casual, because we want to send the message that we, you know, are somebody that's going to help them. We're not just somebody off the street. I came in one time to a placement where I listened for 30 minutes of a man that was in the family placement that talked about how angry he was because the person that came in that worked with, you know, I don't remember if it's CASA, if it was for kids or CPS or who, but that they came in their fishing attire. They came in their shorts and hair up in a bun and like they just came off the lake and he was very upset about that. And I listened to that for 30 minutes and how to respond to that was totally different. And so I just kind of used humor and I said, well, I wonder if she caught anything. I'm not sure. You know, so and then I just appealed to fishermen and him because he was a fisherman. But, you know, I just, you know, there again, we want to send the message that, you know, we are, somebody takes what we do seriously. And so I'm kind of a business casual kind of gal. And it also says a lot.
Well, it's relatable to the kids too. If you go all dressed up, they're gonna go, ooh.
Absolutely. That's right. If you're in there dressed in your Sunday best, you know, so, you know, that's a big deal. And being relaxed is a big deal because the more relaxed you are, the more relaxed They are. And I'm gonna skip down because I said something at the very end. It says the CASA family and child are observing you just as much as, you're observing them. And that's a big deal. So you just have to be very aware of that when you're there. They are assessing you just like you're assessing them.
First impressions.
And it's very important. So, anyway, any thoughts on that?
We were so excited. We went to a little celebration for the end of preschool and the grandma gave us both a hug, and we've come so far from her being angry that this had happened to these children. And then she goes, oh, I gotta give you both a hug. And I was like, I just kind of wanted to cry.
And you never know where they're going to come from and where their brain goes with that.
Yeah.
You never know because they are so thankful. And they all show it in different ways. So, like just like the fisherman guy. I mean, he just was thankful I was dressed right, that I didn't come off the lake and didn't smell like suntan lotion. So there you go. All right.
Okay, we also want to address some potential red flags. Lack of appropriate supervision, visible injuries of signs or neglect, extreme emotional distress, and conflicting information from family members.
Yeah. And I'm sure in placements that you do watch for things when you go in of emotional distress and things that don't look right. I mean, one of my first cases that I had, and I had someone that had a bruise on them, and then I just called my supervisor and reported that, and they removed them. So you have to do really that scan and survey and really look.
So that's the approach, just call your supervisor and they'll call CPS.
That's what I did, because I was new at the time, and I was like, I wasn't going to take any chances. I said, well, this is just what I saw. He wasn't in any distress or anything like that, but this is just what I saw. And then I just gave it to them, and what she did from that point on, that was because I was new. So if there's any questions, these supervisors are invaluable. And if they don't know, they call Amy, and it's awesome. Amy will go, I will do it. And I will get it done. So that is amazing. See, look at it. Everybody look at Amy. She's great. Yeah. So, and lack of appropriate supervision, because some of these families can have multiple kids. And you know that they can have multiple placements. And sometimes they leave them with the older placements and those types of things. And those are things to watch for, because those can be red flags, because some of these kids do not really have, the skills to be watching the younger kids. So those are things to watch for. And if you're not sure what to do, call your supervisor. Johnny's my supervisor. Lisa is my best friend. So this is good. Any questions on that?
Do you find if there's if the foster family has kids of their own and they bring in CASA, is there often favoritism to their own children? In my situations, and I've had multiple placements, I don't see that so much. I really don't. If a home has children of their own and they're older and things like that, they really try to include the kids. Okay.
I haven't had that experience, but that doesn't mean it's not there and not to watch for that.
Because you do hear horror stories about foster families, right?
Yes, yes. But I've just happened to have good ones. But at the same time, I would definitely watch for that, and you do hear of things like that. So definitely that is something to watch for. Anybody have anything to add about that, or did he just ask? Yes, ma'am.
It could be true in group homes and
Yes.
things like that.
That is correct, because you have those different placements, the residential, and the different types in the homes and all of that. So it is, but there again, I would still watch for, is that older child, even in a familial situation, is that older child appropriate to watch?
Right.
Those younger children. I would still watch for that. Extreme emotional distress. I had a situation not very long ago where I was on a first visit in the residential placement itself. And this child I noticed she was a teenager, but I noticed that very concerned, it was just me and her, but very concerned with the phone.
the phone that was plugged in. And just, and she was almost distressed about it. She just couldn't stop looking at it. And so I just went over there and unplugged the phone. You know, there's always an answer to things because we weren't going to get anywhere with her being so obsessed with the phone. Because that had something to do with all her experiences. She was worried about that and people listening. So I just went over there and unplugged the phone. And we didn't have that trouble from went on. So it's just about monitoring and adjusting. As teachers, where's my teacher over there? Assistant principal lady over there. It's about monitoring and adjusting constantly. Monitoring and adjusting. So I just went up.
Watching your surroundings also.
Yes.
That's how you pick up on those kinds of things.
Because I could tell she was not going to go any further. She was too distressed. So watching for that. Okay.
Do you want to talk a little more about the conflict?
Oh, conflicting information from family members, because like I said, you can have multiple children in the home, multiple, even family, multiple families, where they're kind of all there. It's a compound. How many have compounds? I have lots of compounds. Am I the only one that gets the compounds? I have lots of compounds.
What is a compound?
A compound is multiple family units on the same properties, and sometimes with gates. And sometimes with not gates.
Mennonite colony would probably be an example, right?
Yeah. And so multiple family members. So when you are interviewing different family members and different things that have conflicting information, about, the main family member who is keeping the child or the family members trying to get back the child says something. But this compound member over here and this one down by the river is saying something different, then that's a problem.
And then you tell your supervisor?
Yes, I would definitely include Miss Joni.
Okay.
I would. Of course, not that she would already know because she'd be with me.
She would, yeah.
You don't usually go compounds by yourself. There's just different information like that, but you definitely would look for things like that and red flags. Those are all red flags. And these are all to keep the kiddos safe. Because they have to know by you being relaxed that you're going to be the one to keep them safe. And the more relaxed you are with them and the more laid back you are with them, they are going to know you're the one to keep them safe. And they're going to trust you.
So what I heard you say, it's not our job to dig into the situation. We pass it on to our.
No, I mean, you can dig in, but you keep your supervisor in the loop.
Okay.
You keep them in the loop because they're going to help guide you as well. But you can, and they have a lot on their plate. I'm not saying that, but you can definitely dig in, and then you keep them in the loop. Okay. For sure. And then I have a few minutes. So the most important things to remember is to be genuine. That's my word. Be genuine. Have empathy for them because these people, even the placements, these people have had some rough situations, and they've gone through a lot. And so we want to be as genuine as we can with them, as where they can trust us to move forward with them, that they can that we will help.
Because they can see through it if you aren't.
Absolutely, they can see through it from word go. And then and the judgmental thing comes with that. But so for me, I listen more than I talk. Believe it or not, girls over there, I listen more than I talk when I'm there. I let them circle. I'm gonna piggyback on what Judy said over there about that circle of trust and the game and the cards with middle school boys. I'm just going to tell you, men that have boys. As a counselor, this is what I did with the cards, and they don't really do the cards so much, but because the older ones they will want to walk outside more. They will want to do, even the girls, they'll want to do that. The little ones want to take you to their room, show you their toys, do those things on the first visits. The older ones, they'll want to go outside, kind of walk, show you the property, show you the compound, those kind of things. And then the middle schoolers, not on the first visit necessarily, this is just a helpful hint. Not necessarily with the cards, but they will take a basketball. And you can get into the basketball game with them. Say, okay, if I get this point, then you're gonna answer, a question, and they'll do that. They'll answer it all day long. You keep shooting. But, if I miss it, you get to ask me a question. And they'll do that all day long. And so that's always been something that works with me, any kind of sport little thing like that. And there's always something around, especially with residential kids that are interested. Those things are outside and it's easy to do. So take something with you, take a basketball, football, whatever. Okay. So anyway, any other questions? We're good. We got 33 seconds.
Question, but for me, one thing that's important, especially before I go to the first family visit, is cultural awareness. That can impact how you communicate, your dress, how their behavior is going to be. And I do a lot of research on Smith County websites and social medias. I go to the aunts, the cousins, and everybody I can find, because you will come across a family that will not talk to you because of whatever cultural limitation there may be. So
that is correct. And I had to learn about their snacks, because their snacks are meals. And I love it. When I go in, I always try to make it around snack time. They're having big meals. I'm like, this is your after school snack. This is right. So it's all good. But you're right. The cultural awareness is a big deal. And that's part of that research. Know in your case. Good for you.
My question is, because we have advocates coming in to advocate at all different times, and we have different cases that are being worked by case supervisors, and advocates sign on at any point. How long the case has been open or anything like that? Do you feel that affects kind of the new advocates, like first home visit, or are there things that they should slightly change if the case has been going on a long time versus a newer case that's been open?
Yeah, me personally, I think if they know what they're coming into, it's almost like they need to just start from square one. Say,
okay.
And it's those lead on sentences, like coming in, say, I know this has been a long time that this case has been going, but I'm here and I'm starting over. I'm starting new, and I'm starting, and I want to start fresh. And we want to start, it's those lead-in things that you want to do to make them feel comfortable. What can I do to make that better for you than maybe it was the last time? Those kind of things. Yeah.
Okay. Nichole branch, this is Kirsten. She's been doing this quite some time. So we're gonna go over medical advocacy requirements. Does anyone struggle with medical advocacy? What is that? Medical advocacy is something that is required every 90 days. So that's how we fought for our children's mental health needs. And there are many ways to conduct this advocacy requirement, but it needs to be logged in Optima every 90 days for every child you're assigned to. So if you're assigned to 5 children, it needs to be done for every child. So something you can go in more detail with your supervisors about, but I have printed this out for y'all to take home. There are many different ways to conduct medical advocacy, and these are just examples. If you come up with something on your own, that's great, but 1 through 9, you don't have to choose all of these. Just choose one of them, if not more, if you wish. But for example, number 1, for each child you have, they should be going to the doctor. If they're in a placement, they usually go to a 3-day, a 30-day. They have well-child checkups. They maybe have medication management reviews. And so you have a right to review all those medical documents. If they go to the hospital, or if they're injured, or if they're sick, you can request those from the foster placement, their agency, or foster parent, and you have a right to review those. And then we will log those into Optima, and then you can make sure that all their medical needs are being met. So that's one example. Do you have anything to add?
A lot of those things, while it's surface level, seems obvious, child visits, if they're sick, things like that. But some other things that can include is if they're in physical therapy and occupational therapy, speech therapy. There may even be kids who have to take drug tests. And so those things can apply in that sense. And it includes, any medication reviewing needs as well, if their doctor is prescribing them medication, or even if they're taking an over-the-counter type of medication.
Then each child should have
CANS assessment if they're over the age of 3. So if you have any babies, they don't need them, but over the age of 3, a CANS assessment. Are y'all familiar with the CANS
No,
assessment?
I know I'm waiting for one, but I don't know, didn't look up the acronym, so. I don't know.
It's child assessment needs and strengths. So basically it goes over all the child's needs and strengths and it makes goals for them. Most of the time, the CANS will recommend therapy or psychological. Every child should also have a psychological yearly. So I have one child right now who was due last month, so I'm advocating for him to get a new psychological. And then that psychological shows recommendations that we should make sure that the team is following and the placement. So if that psychological recommended therapy and that child's not in therapy, we can say, you know, we need to make sure this child is in therapy. Or maybe the child's psychological said didn't need therapy, but you notice behaviors in that child that you really think, getting to know that child on a daily or monthly basis, you say this child should really be in therapy, you can recommend therapy. So all of that advocating for their mental health is meeting at medical advocacy requirements.
Move on from the CANS. Could I ask you, you said your child was due one last month. Mine is 18 months overdue, and I've been asking, when do we do this CANS? When do we do? So any tips for how I get this?
Yes, I mean, have you brought it up to the judge yet?
It was mentioned at one of the, because he asked about psychologicals and CANS, and the caseworker just said, yes, we need to do that.
Yeah, I mean, you could literally ask Georgia, I'm asking you to order this child to have a psychological. And then,
well, it's the CANS.
Oh, CANS.
Yeah, she hadn't had a CANS, and I've had this case, about 15 months, and she hadn't had one since I've been on the case.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know.
Is this a Smith County case? Okay. How old is she?
16.
16. Okay. And she's never had a psychological or CANS?
Yeah, she's had psychological. She was overdue on her CANS. She hadn't had one in all these over 8 years.
Okay.
Apologize for my.
That's okay. It's just something you can keep advocating for. The psychological is more in depth than a CANS. So it's good she's had a psychological, but if you feel like she needs a new CANS for whatever reason, I would.
Well, I mean, aren't they supposed to have one?
Well,
at a requirement?
I know the psychologicals are yearly. I was under the impression that CANS are too, but psychological for sure.
They may be substituting the psych eval instead of doing a CANS because that is so much more in depth and is used for diagnostics.
I know that, like our caseworker has all this. I mean, I've gotten information about what it says, but is that enough of a report to have if she has that?
You should be, you have a right to request the actual copy of the CANS and psychological. And we should be providing a copy of all medical documents. So you all have a right to see everything listed down. Yes, Lana?
From the chat, what happens when an older child, they're referring to a 15-year-old, will not respond to psych assessment? The last assessment was inclusive.
Well, we can't force a child to participate, so this may be advocating for therapy if they won't go into complete the psychological.
It could also be requested through the school as well. If there's any type of special programming assistance at the schools can do psychological evaluations and assessments like that as well.
Okay, good information. Thank you. They refuse therapy, so maybe going through the school might be.
Yeah.
Who does perform the CANS assessment?
A professional, like outside of 4 kids, it's like usually a provider, like a counselor or a psychiatrist or a doctor. I'm not sure who does it, but it's not part of the legal team. It's a medical professional.
So the connection between that person is through 4 kids?
Well, whoever the child was referred to have the CANS, that provider usually works with 4 kids, 4 families and CPS. So it's usually the same people doing the CANS, usually.
Just trying to figure out what the line of the responsibility is in terms of how do you force the CANS to be done, who's doing it?
The only thing you can do as an advocate is request to the caseworker, the legal team and the judge that these items be completed. And, you're doing your part, but it's their responsibility as the medical consenters to complete the task. Because we're not the medical consenters, we can only say, this needs to be done, and it's their job to do it, and then it's up to the judge to force them to do it. Yeah. So that's the power of Abby. I've seen him order, I mean, even she's had the judge order things.
Judge
Yeah.
and order, that's their job. I mean,
Right.
our job is in terms of trying to figure out, is this test been done? Or who's
Yes,
supposed to do it or what?
Yeah, it's our job to see if it's been done, and if it hasn't, request it to be done,
I'm
but we
thinking-
can't force them to do
No,
it, yeah.
I can't force anything.
No.
We would, I think, go to 4 kids in terms of the first stop. in
Yes,
terms
start
of-
with 4 kids, and then say, you know,
What's
what's
the
the
caregiver?
The caregiver, sure, but ultimately it's the caregiver, and because the placements vary so much, like GROs, RTCs, I mean, it varies. So start with the caseworker and ask them what the barriers are to completing this task. And then I had one waited 10 months to get her psychological report, and the judge kept saying, what is the delay? But there was always a reason or excuse. Finally, it got done, so. Yeah, go ahead.
My go-to phrase for that is I cannot best advocate for this kid without that information, and I am going to continue to request it be done every time. I don't know which county you're in, but I've built a pretty good relationship with Judge Wilson in Smith County, and when he sees that I'm so strongly advocating for the kid and he can't, one of my main things is we're not there to make friends with the attorneys and the caseworkers and kind of please each party. We're there for the best interest of the child, and that's my number one goal, and the best interest of the child is gathering all the information needed so I can see full picture in an investigative style, because that's not how my brain likes to work, but I can't do it without that, and so. I
Well,
like
it
to
sounds
say
like you're
that.
pressing on the big guy,
I do.
but how often do you get contact with the big guy?
Whenever we have a court hearing, it's
Typically every 60 days, every 60 to 90 days.
It's a long time to.
but I also am not ashamed to hound the caseworker and the attorney.
Mhm.
The attorney.
Mhm.
The top attorney,
Yes.
and I say that nicely, politely, not disrespectfully.
No.
And just real quick, a couple other medical things can also be dental and orthodontics, vision, and then therapy. And jump into number 3, advocating for a child's mental health needs can be done over the phone, email, or in court with the legal team. I, no matter what situation, always advocate for mental health of a child. Even if the child doesn't think that they need it, I'm going to make the suggestion no matter what, because our primary goal in majority of the cases is family reunification, and a lot of times they need therapeutic assistance getting reunified with their family and building good relationships to be successful and moving forward. I'm a big proponent of TBRI type therapy, and it's trust-based relational intervention. And it is one of my primary things that I like to advocate for with kids, especially if I am anticipating them to go back home with a family member of some sorts. So.
Yes. And then are y'all familiar with the child's plan of service? You are, aren't you? Yeah. Anybody else? Yes, okay. So make sure you're requesting those every day, because those are supposed to be updated by the caseworker every 90 days. And then by reading those and reviewing those, we can ensure the child's medical needs and therapy needs are being met, because those all should be listed in the child plan of service.
Is that something in Optima?
No, it's something you request from the child's placement, the caseworker, or the case agency. So
But we're responsible to
for
do that.
requesting it, no, just
We
requesting.
request it
a
gets all
copy.
done for you. It's a
Yeah.
document that'll come and you just have to post it.
Yeah, it's something
I
that.
guess we've never done it,
Oh, we've never gotten that.
or no, we didn't even know to ask. I didn't.
Exactly.
Right, that's okay. So a child plan of service is something that 4Kids, 4Families creates. And it goes over the child's needs and the goals for that child, for each and every child. And they are supposed to be updating it every 90 days.
Updating where,
They are themselves, for their company, are supposed to be updating it.
then
And
should they send it to us?
they're probably not going to send it unless you request it.
Okay.
I've been lucky
I
enough
just
to-
don't understand the process.
Yes.
Of where it starts,
It
who's
starts with the
responsible,
caseworker, yes.
and then where do we take it?
The caseworker is responsibility for creating it. And then it's our responsibility for requesting it. And that way we can review it every 90 days.
I'm lucky enough that the placement has actually done it.
Okay.
And they'll invite a group, including me and Nichole in our cases, so.
He has a child in a facility, so it's a little easier when you have a facility doing it. And then also if your child's in a foster home, that agency should be doing it as well, and you could participate in those meetings as well. So building a relationship with your foster agency is also important because you get more information from them sometimes than you do your own caseworker.
Well, because caseworkers talked to me about, oh yeah, I'm working on in a service, but I didn't know I was supposed to ask for it.
Yes.
And our child was 6 weeks ago was diagnosed with leukemia.
Mm.
And so like this is medical parts like blowing my mind right now.
Yes, and I mean, again, you
I
don't
don't know
have
how
to
to
choose
handle that
all of
stuff.
these, requesting them from the caseworker. Is your child in a foster home? No.
Grandparents.
So your caseworker is going to be your best person to get this information from. And when the grandparents take the child to the doctor, they usually go home with a checkout guide. You know, when you go to the doctor and the doctor says, here's your paperwork, you can request a copy of that paperwork from the grandma. If they're able to, just take a picture of it, or when you go look at it, you know, just say, hey, send a copy for me when I get there. And then as far as the psychological, like I said, that should be done once a year. You have a right to have a copy of that as well as the cans. And then ask the placement about any medication changes. You have a right to see the medication. I went to a group home one time and the child said she has asthma. I requested to see the asthma puffer because she said she wasn't receiving it. They didn't have it. It wasn't at the placement. And so I took it upon myself to tell the caseworker, and then they make sure the asthma inhaler got to the placement. So you have a right to see the medications as well. Who's it in the second page one?
The second page is just some ideas on some questions that you can ask the child and placement, and even follow up with the caseworker on. It's typical of these questions I have asked at least every visit, and then just kind of following up with the caseworker if something is mentioned in the placements. But I like to ask kids away from the adult environment, like we go on a walk or play basketball. How are you sleeping today? You know, do you have any nightmares? Are you sleeping pretty good? You waking up? There's been some kids that's had some bedwetting incidents. So things like that, you know, is your tummy hurt? A lot of those things, even though I'm not diagnosing them, but it's relevant in my mind because a lot of these things lead to mental health reasonings as well that can affect behavior, that can affect the medical side of things at all different levels. So just figuring out how to ask all of these questions in an age appropriate manner. You're not going to ask a 16-year-old, you know, is your tummy ever hurt, you know? But it's just asking those questions to figure out how they're doing without having to feel like they're under a microscope and saying the wrong thing or the right thing, you know. And then I'll ask the same questions to the placement because a lot of the times they may give you a different answer or even a more in-depth answer, or may give you side effects of a medication that a kid's experiencing that a kid wouldn't know how to use the words. And so every time, if I have concerns about any of the questions that I've asked, I will put it in my team email when I send it and let the caseworker know that these are things that I would like to follow up on, or if they have heard these things, if there's been a doctor visit and stuff like that.
And one thing about medication, this was about 4 years ago, this child I was visiting, she was sitting on the couch, she was twitching. And I asked the foster parent, you know, how long has she been doing that? And she said she always says it. I think she's doing it on purpose. Well, I took it upon myself to run her health passport. Are y'all familiar with what a health passport is? It's just kind of a review or history of their medications and the doctor's appointments and stuff like that. But
How do you get them?
Oh, you can request it from your case supervisor. Yes. And then, so reviewing her medical records, I noticed she had been on one particular medicine for quite some time, and talk to her parents, you know, is this something you saw in her? So I requested a med review to the judge. She had a med review. She was taken off that medication, put on a new medication to treat the same symptoms, and the twitching was gone. So although I'm not a medical consenter, I looked at her side effects and I relayed that to the team and then got that handled, so. And I could have been, she was doing it on purpose, but I didn't feel like she was. It looked ugly involuntarily. It didn't look like she was doing it on purpose. So another reason you want to like watch for side effects, not just asking the child, are you having any side effects? Because they're not going to probably know what that means. And then as far as like counseling, if your child is in counseling, you can request from your caseworker the counseling notes. Now, if they say they don't have them, it's because the therapist is not sending them. And so you did your part. And that counts for medical advocacy.
ABA therapy would fit in there too.
What's that?
ABA therapy fits in there?
Yes. Any type of therapy, they're in speech, AT, PT, counseling, any kind of therapy, you can request notes. You won't always get them because some providers just don't provide those. And then also, there's one thing you had handed on here about going to the nurse. Now, checking in with the schools, she can go over more with that. But other than that, there's lots of different ways to meet medical advocacy. We are running out of time, but if all else fails, you can get that your child's Medicaid number to your case supervisor, and they can run that health passport that I'm talking about. So you can see the times that they went to the doctor. I know I pulled one last year and it showed that he had gone to the ER for a broken arm. We weren't even notified he went to the ER for a broken arm. No one told us. So running those every now and again is a good idea, but is anything else you want to?
Just real quick, a lot of this intertwines with other areas, so a lot of your medical pieces can also go along with the school, and a part of that is you advocating. So if a child does have any type of therapeutic or illness or whatever, following up with the school, or even calling them, hey, has the kid come to you with any issues? Have they been sick at school? I like to make all questions of all parties involved just to get a fuller picture and not just rely on one area of it. Another thing just to keep in mind, I know some other people have mentioned that caseworkers change, and potentially they change a lot. I've had a couple of cases where we've gotten close to 10 caseworkers in 1 year time frame just because it was a rolling stone of things happening. And making sure that all of this is documented, and Optima will be your best friend when that happens, because a lot of times caseworkers are like, oh, I don't know about that, but you can go back and say, well, this was the communication that happened here and you need to follow up on it. So you kind of have to rely on yourself and your notes and your team of people and making sure that you have it all covered for your kiddos.
Any questions? No questions. All right.
I have a lot to add here because school is just school and it's kind of simple. So I just listed some maybe helpful hints. I'm not sure. We'll see. And if you have questions, and like there is an overlap in services provided for kids through healthcare and through school and the school nurse and just all kinds of stuff. So we'll just talk through it a little bit. And it will take me 4 minutes. I don't think. When you go to the school, when you go to a school, and probably 2 or 3 times lately, I've been in court and people have told the judge that the school that they had gone to, and it was different campuses, had not allowed CASA to see the kid that they went to see. They wouldn't let CASA be on their campus. But you're supposed to get to be on their campus. When you go to a school, take your valid driver's license, take a CASA ID, and all of you, I think, have the picture ID, so it'll match your driver's license, and take a copy of the order of protection, which says that CASA is assigned or appointed to that case.
Let's get the judge's signature on that one.
Yes. Make sure that you don't include the affidavit, because that has all of the personal case details that school does not need. They just need to know that CASA is appointed and you have a right to see that kid and to know about that child and move on from there.
Where do we find this order of protection?
When you are in Optima, in Optima under documents, the documents tab, it's usually one of the very first things that's uploaded. And it might say affidavit, it might say order of protection.
Always order.
Order, okay, always order. And just, we can print it out, you can print it out, but they need a copy for that child's file so that they are officially notified that you have rights to that information. I usually staple a card to it or staple a sticky note to it with your name and your phone number or your email or however you like to be contacted, because school offices know all kinds of things and are a wealth of information. And sometimes it'll be a secretary who might reach out to you on behalf of school personnel or whatever. So it never hurts to share your contact information if you're comfortable doing that with the office. And I'm so sorry, y'all, I had some kind of allergy thing going on. Just points of contact at school, and just a general FYI, email is most often the easiest way to get in touch with teachers or principals or counselors or anybody like that, because the school day is fast and furious. And most of the time, they're not going to be able to, the office is not going to transfer a phone call right to a classroom anyway, but they don't have time to stop and answer right then, but will probably call you back. If they don't, be persistent. So the teacher, this is all just self-explanatory and really simple, but keep in mind that a teacher may not be aware of what CASA even is. I taught school for a million years and worked as a principal and in central office and had foster kids galore, but I don't remember if I ever had anybody from CASA, and I probably did. I just didn't know that that's who they were. Maybe, I don't know. So a lot of times we have to explain what we do. And so in an email to a teacher, introduce yourself and explain what your role is for that child. Let them know that you have an order of protection on file, because they know all about confidentiality as well. And without some kind of legal documentation should not, but they should not give you information on that child.
Is it okay to just attach it with the email?
You can, yeah, if you want to. And in all schools use software of various types, and all of that should be uploaded on a student's tab. Like, they should be able to tell that this child is classified as a foster child and all that. But that doesn't always get done in a timely manner, or sometimes just not at all, just because it's a lot. And our kids change schools often sometimes. And so there's a lag sometimes between information moving from one district to the next.
So you're better off bringing it.
Yeah, and it never hurts. But let them know who you are, that you have contacted the office, that they have the appropriate paperwork, and can attach it if you would like to. Just be careful, of course, about what details you share. Assistant principals are also great to get in touch with, because they're going to handle discipline most of the time. And lots of our kids have frequent discipline issues, if for no other reason than because you get attention. Whether it's good attention or bad attention, you're getting some kind of attention. And assistant principals know a lot about our kinds of kids, because they spend a lot of time with them. And usually they try to get to know them, because, to build those relationships. And they will handle typically behavior issues, discipline, meetings with guardians, meetings with CASA. If you have official meetings like 504 or special ed or LPAC, if you have, if your child's first language is not English, sometimes it's the assistant principal who handles that. If they don't, they'll be able to find out who does. Campus counselor, we met one earlier. Campus counselors are great to reach out to our kids and to help them navigate school. Even though school is school, like you're gonna go, if you've gone to 5 fifth grades this year, you're still gonna be in the 5th grade. It's with new people and new teachers, new buildings. And sometimes they just need a touchstone kind of person to reach out to them and say, hey, I know you're new. I just wanted to check on you. I'm Miss So-and-so. You can come by my office. Maybe not come by my office. I'll come find you and let me know if you need anything. And counselors are great at keeping tabs on kids who need a little bit extra. And that's what they're there for. Contrary to popular belief, it's not just to administer state testing. They have an actual purpose that existed before STAR. And they're helpful. And sometimes kids just need a sounding board or just a place to cool off. And if they know that counselor can help with that, that's one more person. Behavior interventionists are, they haven't been around as long as I've been around, because I taught school also back when you used to have to wear pantyhose to work. Thank God that went away. But behavior interventionists are just one more level of support. If you have a child with severe behavior issues, which some of our kids do have, whether it's, maybe a drug-related issue, maybe a mental health issue, whatever, that cause severe outbursts of behavior that could be harmful to them or to someone else or to their teacher, or if you have a runner or, something like that. Behavior interventionists help design a behavior intervention plan, which is exactly what it sounds like, to try to help kids on their way to self-regulate, which is not always successful. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. One day it might be, the next day it might not. But it's an effort. Behavior interventionists usually come with sometimes if they're at a big enough school, a staff who works with them. Most schools now, especially elementary campuses, have a calm down room or a reset room or a refocus room or whatever they call it. And it is a place for kids to go to reset themselves. Whether it's to sit and do something with their hands, or I had a kid one time who just wanted to go sit on a beanbag for 5 minutes and he would be okay. He still would be in trouble or whatever, but he would say, okay, Miss Brady, here's what I did, and here's why I'm here, and here's how we're going to fix it, whatever. But those people are very helpful to know as well. Contact them by email because they are hopping all day long, I promise you. As guardian ad litem, you function basically as this child's parent. You have the right, you're appointed by the court to have information about their grades, to have information about behavior issues, special services they receive, if they have medication that they take at school through the nurse's office, all of those things that you would know about your own child, you have a right to that information. Sometimes schools give you a little bit of pushback. Sometimes you just have to push back a little bit yourself. But sometimes you are I don't want to say the loudest, the most persistent voice in a kid's corner, or maybe the only voice in their corner. So it's okay to ask questions. And if a school tells you, no, you can't have that, why can't I? Because I have a court order that says I can. I don't know. This is all just simple stuff to me.
A comment was brought up in the chat from Melody Melton. If a child's in special education, they said a SPED case manager is also a greater helpful resource.
Yes, if they have a case, well, they will have a case manager. They will have some sort of special education personnel who works with them, whether they go to a resource room or whether they have in-class support who comes into their classroom with them. They know lots about our kids because they work with them often one-on-one, or at least in a very small group setting. So yes, that is an excellent point. If kids receive things like speech therapy, a lot of times that's through school, through special education. If they have dyslexia, that can be through special education. So they know all kinds of things. And you have a right to all of those records anytime you need to see them. And a lot of times those don't travel with our kids. They're supposed to be an education portfolio. I have seen an education portfolio, but I don't know. And you know, part of that may be because so many things are electronic now, and you don't take actual physical copies of things when you go to a new school. But it never hurts to have those copies and upload them into Optima. You can put them in documents and make a note of when you got them and the school they were at, if they were having difficulty in reading or math or any of that kind of information is helpful because there's a trail that some of these kids don't always have. So any pieces you can put in place for them are helpful. And I mean, school is school. Yes, ma'am.
And in my experience with kiddos and all of them, I had a CASA at one point when I was counselor that she made everybody on campus mad. Everybody. And, it was hard for her to get in and get things done. It's really best when you can condense it, like make your contact to either your counselor or your assistant principal, make one contact, and then also with your teachers, once you get that paperwork into that file, then your teachers are pretty good about most of the time, if they know that, that's been made known, then you can email them. And they're right about emailing you, because teachers don't have time to sit down and visit. Right. And that's what this CASA wanted to do, find something, visit, and there was no time. So she made that contact with me, and then I was able to make sure she got to the ARDs and the things for special education and those types of things she needed. Right. So we condensed it to that one contact and then the teacher emails. And that plays like because what you don't want to do is come in and make a campus mad or angry. That is true. And then that way we condensed it, and she got a lot more done.
Sometimes you do catch more flies with honey, I've been told, but you know, whatever it takes. It's what I say. Yes, ma'am.
I just have a couple of things. One, when you mentioned lag and transferring information, like if students were going to school to school, the biggest one that I've noticed is when it comes to like their IEPs and all of that. And I had one teacher recently when I was just calling and check, I had no idea he had accommodations. And I'm like, what the heck? So I called the counselor, asked them to have that conversation. I didn't need to be a part of it, but in having that conversation, the counselor had told me the school that the child was at had a male mentor program that they offer once a month. So I would just suggest asking the counselor or whoever those questions if they have those types of programs that the kid could participate in.
And a lot of times, like for things like IEPs or 504 paperwork, sometimes that comes from an entirely different place within a district than just regular school records. So it doesn't always arrive at this. I mean, you know, there are all kinds of things. But yes, counselors are a great resource for mentoring programs that are on campus. You know, if there is a teacher that you know a kid has really made a connection with, they can recommend all kinds of things for your kids. It's all about building relationships with the people who take care of these kids during the day. And schools spend so much time with our kids and know so many things that even home doesn't, you know, wherever they're living may not know, or relatives may not know, because they're in a different environment and they see things differently. But you can never have too much information about a kid, and you can never know too many people in that child's life. So, you know, and you never know who's going to appeal to a child themselves, who they're going to build a relationship with. So it's really, I mean, it's just CASA is about building relationships, the school is about building relationships. And our kids need that, so. That's it in a nutshell, I mean, yes, ma'am.
One of the things that I do is, about school age, one of the first things I do is I make contact with that school, tell them I want access to their parent portal.
Yes.
And then
Oh,
that's,
yes,
that's
thank
when
you.
they request a copy of your
Mhm.
ID, your driver's license,
Yes,
and your order of protection, and you email that to them, then it's on record. So anytime you make the contact,
it's there.
teacher, whoever, will see it.
And that was supposed to be the first thing on my list, and it's off my list.
That way you can monitor their
But
grades,
yes,
watch for problems with their grades too.
yes, and the office can usually help you get signed up for the parent portal, and you can see everything that they have about that child, and it stays pretty current.
Some
So-
schools, if you're on the parent portal, you get texts about
Mhm.
all the activities that are going
You
on.
do, and some, schools use all kinds of different apps now, Remind and Class Dojo, and you might not want all of those notifications. And it took me, I think, 4 years to get unenrolled from my sons after he graduated. But all the information is there. But yes, thank you for mentioning parent portal. I don't even know.
And like she said, you want to do that because I have found that sometimes they don't even know they're SPED kids.
Right.
They don't even know they're 504
Mhm.
kids, and you're the alert to them. that,
Mhm.
Yes, they have these records that
Right.
their previous schools.
Exactly.
That early
They're coming. Those records are coming.
So what is 504?
It is, I call it common sense kind of help. It's not special education. It's things like additional time on assignments or maybe reminders to stay on task. When you need just a little bit extra, but you don't really qualify for special ed. It's things that most teachers do anyway. But 504 makes it an official document that you get these accommodations for help with whatever you've got going on.
I will say that those accommodations like 504 and even your special program, difference if your kid is having behavioral issues and disciplinary
Yes.
issues as well. So if they are having trouble at school and they do have those special needs, make sure that the school is, they have
Yes,
stricter rules, I guess, to follow when a kid is being disciplined with special need.
absolutely they do. And that, as soon as you have a 504, you have a 504 meeting, you have a signed plan, you have a signed IEP, that is a legally binding document, and that school is required to follow everything that's listed. And a lot of times it does have to do with how they're disciplined or how you approach them in certain situations, because our kids have baggage, all kids have baggage, all of us have baggage, but it's all about how you approach them.